Hey guys, it's Ryan with My Listing Club. In this video, we are continuing on with our educational series on how to build an online business with the My Listing WordPress theme. This will be part 4. I don't have a working title for this just yet because we're going to just see how far we get. But I will label the video so it'll be easy to identify what it's about for those coming in through the YouTube channel. Okay, before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. We are going to be working still through the MyListing Project Template, which you can get a hold of on the MyListing Club website. That's mylisting.club. And if you scroll down the homepage a little bit, you'll see a card for it. Just click on that. You can buy this template as a one-off purchase. It's very inexpensive, and that is for a reason. I wanted a lot of people to be able to get their hands on it and use it. It pays for itself in a matter of minutes. It's just a big time saver. But maybe even more important than that is just not missing certain steps. You can also get your hand on it by purchasing a starter site. But if you want to be able to continually get updated versions of it, be able to download as many times as you want, you can get that as being an Ultimate member or on my Care plan. Okay, so those are all the ways to get a hold of this thing. So here we are looking at the MyListing Project Template. As you see up here in the top left, we are still working in the website column, and we are now on the typography task. As I've said in the previous videos, what you do with this template is you work top down and then left to right. If you follow that path all the way through to the end, it'll just walk you through it, and you'll have a My Listing site at the end, as we will see at the end of this video series. Okay, so let's go ahead and click into the typography task here. What this is all about is just using various tools to get our font sizes, our actual font family, like which type of font we want to use, the weights, the line height, and that sort of thing defined before we jump in and start tinkering. Okay. The other thing I point out in this task is system fonts. That is the fastest way that you can load typography. There's nothing to download. It's already built into the workstations or the devices of the person browsing your site. So definitely take a look at my guide on that. Next up would be Google Fonts. You can load those locally. So those are really fast to load as well. And those give you a lot more options as far as styling and whatnot. So it just depends on your taste. It depends on the project. A lot of different variables. First thing I want to show you here is the Font Joy tool. And as with all of these things that I mentioned throughout this series, I use all of this stuff myself. So this is definitely one of those tools that I love. Basically what this does is it shows you the font pairings, whether it's your H1 or your H2 or whatever, and then like the subheadings and then the body text here. So you can click this generate button to kind of get ideas of different font pairings. You can click the icon, this little icon right here, like it's like a filter icon underneath these various fonts, and you can change them to whatever you want to kind of see how they look. And if you prefer to see how this looks on a white background, you can click this icon up here, and then we'll flip that over. Just a really, really cool, clean tool to use. I love it. Once I'm done with Font Joy, I'll then take a look over at Type Scale. And this is giving you a visual representation of how H1 down to H6, all your headings are going to look stacked on top of each other. Just a really cool tool. So let's say here, for example, this H1 is showing at 48.83 pixels, but let's say you want a little bit bigger. Let's say you also want your body text to be 18 pixels and not 16, which is my preference. So if you switch this to 18, this gets you there a little bit closer. So if you're wanting bigger, that is, like, let's say the 60 pixel or 70 pixel range. But it's not quite there. So we can switch from major third here. Let's go down to perfect fourth. So that gets us up there for sure. So let's just say this is something you want to roll with. You want to go with 75 pixels, let's say. The other thing I want to point out here is you'll see the conversion to RIM. I recommend using RIM, getting used to using RIM, It's more of a modern standard for setting your font styles, okay, your font sizes. So definitely check that out. There's also conversion tools out there. If you just Google it, pixel to rim or the other way around. But you'll get used to it after you use it for a while. You can change your Google font right in here. And they also give you a link if you want to go check out the Google fonts. But you can quickly change and see how those look. Okay, so that's what I do. I go through those two tools. I get a really good idea of what I'm going to use. And we'll go ahead and move on down through here. Pro tip at the end here, the only way that you can change the MyListing default font is using Elementor or using CSS. Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there. Let's move on to Elementor Global Fonts. This is more of a manual process for adding font styles that you can then set on a per element basis. So rather than me jabber on about it, it's probably easier if I just show you. So let's pull up a page here I created called Typography. There's nothing on it just yet. All right, let's go ahead and drop a heading in here. Let's call this H1. And we're going to set it to H1. Elementor defaults to H2. So let's duplicate this. Let's call this H2. Let's duplicate it again. Call this H3. Let's duplicate this again, and let's just put the paragraph tag on this one. So we'll call this P for paragraph. Okay. We'll save our changes. Now up here you'll see that on the Elementor side panel, you'll see a hamburger menu. Just go ahead and click that, and then click Site Settings. And then here we are working under the Design System area in Global Fonts. Let's click on the pencil next to Primary. These are just some arbitrary values that Elementor throws in there by default. The Roboto font, and then the 73 pixel size, and then the 600 font weight. So let's say we want to just adjust this and see what happens. So slide this over, and we see that all of those change. That's not ideal, right? So what you can do is, let's set the primary here to be 200. Let's do secondary to be 150. Let's do the text to be 18, and then the accent to be 18, and we'll save our changes. Go back to the editor, and then we'll refresh our page. So with that information set, you can then click on the actual element, go to Style, and under Typography, if you click this little globe, you can then set it to what we set on that previous screen. Okay, so it's just cosmetic where it says primary, secondary, text, etc. So if we go back there, you can set this to whatever you want. H1, H2, Ryan's font, whatever you want it to be. And then when you go back into those elements, Style tab, Typography, click on the little globe, and you'll see that in there. Okay, so that's what global fonts are all about. So I go in to talk about what are the benefits. It's consistency, faster workflow, performance, and then I give you the steps. Okay, so the next one we're going to move on to is theme style typography. So whereas with global fonts it's more of a manual process, the theme style typography is more of an automatic global styling. This gives you more control of consistency across the site, whereas with the other, you're kind of picking and choosing, and there's no real global setting to it. It's just you set it as you go along. Yeah, so it's same kind of benefits, consistency, faster workflow, and then performance. Rather than setting fonts on a manual basis, it's faster across the Elementor system when it's a global, and it can pull from those global settings. Okay. The other thing I want to point out too is it allows you to take over the global design layer that typically the theme will define for you. Okay, so it's another layer of control that you have. All right, so let's go ahead and look at how to implement this. So if we go back to our Elementor settings, so WordPress dashboard, Elementor settings, we need to tick these two boxes: disable default colors and disable default fonts. Go back to our page and let's just refresh it here. Let's go to the hamburger menu, go back to our site settings. Let's go back to global fonts. Let's just reset all of these for fun here. And then, then we'll save that. Let's go back, and now we're going to jump down to theme style and typography. So now let's say for all of our H1s, I'm not sure how those got in there. I must have been tinkering before. So let me reset these. There we go. Let's refresh here. Okay, there we go. So now we go into our site settings again, and we go into typography again under theme style. And let's say we want to set, let's say our, between working with our font joy and our type scale, those steps I showed you there. Let's say we know that we want our H1s to be, actually this isn't taking hold, so let me refresh here. There we go. Okay, so let's go back here, site settings, typography under theme style, and then H1. Wonder why, I'm not sure why those aren't taking hold there. It's interesting. Let me go ahead and let's try something here. I'm going to regenerate my files and data on the Elementor side here and clear cache. Let's refresh this page again. I'm not sure where this is coming from. Let's go back here. Let's check our, I apologize, I'm waffling a little bit here. Let's go back. That's strange. That might be a MyListing thing coming into play there. Okay, let's try this. We got all of our fonts reset across the board, right? So let's save our changes, refresh the page. I'm just going to delete these. Update. All right, let's start over here. Let's add our H1. Save. Normally all these steps aren't required, but I'm just going to take a couple extra steps here. All right, so we have our H1, we've refreshed our page. Let's go to site settings, typography, H1. There we go. There we go. All right, so something was just hung up in there. I'm not sure what's going on. So let's say we want to make this with like 70 pixels, or like I said, switch over to rim and find the equivalent there. Okay, so we'll do 10 rim on that. And then we're going to go ahead and save this. Go back to the editor. We will duplicate this. Make this H2. Save. Refresh. Okay, go back to our site settings. Under H2, we're going to do the same thing. Just set whatever size we want it to be. We did 10 rim on the other, so let's drop this down to 9 on this one. There you go. You get the idea. We'll save our changes. So now any page that you go and you drop that in, let's do another one. We'll do a typography 2. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and just drop an H1 in here. And save. So now on the front end, let's jump over and look at how those look on the front end. So here's typography 1, and then here's typography 2. So here's 1, here's 2. So we see that they're identical. The font sizes are identical. So if we inspect those, we see a, that's weird, it's showing a weird font size. That's, I think that's the Hoverify tool doing something there. Huh, that's interesting. Oh, okay, there we go. That shows our H1, font size 100 pixels. Okay. And then over here, same thing. Font size, H1, 100 pixels. Now, so if we go and we edit a page, let's change our H1 to be really small. So let's do like 2 rem. Let's just get rid of, let's set that as 2 rem. And now let's refresh this page, and that should reflect. There it is. Now let's refresh this page. There we go. So that's what this task is all about, is setting that up. And because we did the same thing with the colors, with the disabling on those Elementor settings, let's say you want to change the color of your H1s and you want it to be this blue color. So we update it there. We see that on page 1, it's going to be blue. And then when we refresh this page, it will be blue. Okay? So that is what that is for. Really cool stuff. Let's see what we've got here. I'll scroll on down here. Coming soon mode. I'm gonna tackle that maybe in the next one. So I'm gonna move this one down. Just because global colors kind of falls more in line here. It's basically what I just showed you there, but just a little bit of a different section. So let's go back to our page. We're still under site settings. Let's go back a level. Now we're going to go under global colors. So here you can set, whatever. So we'll set it to this bright red for the primary. Secondary, we'll do like some blue, and then text we'll just make that black. A version of black, so we'll do that. And then our accent color, we'll do something crazy like, we'll do like green. That's fine. And you can add more here. There's tons of videos out there on YouTube for Elementor stuff. And if you go to the Elementor website, we don't need to get into all this stuff, but you can add your own custom colors, name them whatever you want. Brian's color, that sort of thing. We'll do like a yellow here, okay? And then we'll save our changes there. Let's go back to our editor. And similar to when we did the global fonts, it's more of like a manual process. You edit your element there, and then under style, just like we set with typography, but now we're going to do the color. So let's just go ahead and choose, we called it our primary. Let's do this one as our secondary. Okay, so now when we refresh our page, we should see that red H1 and then the blue H2. Cool. And then over here, we should see the red H1. There we go. So that is all there is to it. The same thing with the colors and the typography with Global Wises. The benefits are consistency, faster workflow, performance, and that's pretty much it. Hope you found this useful. We're going to call this video a wrap. this episode a wrap for part 4. Looks like I'll be calling it something like typography and colors or something along those lines. But thanks for listening. Please subscribe so you know when videos like this come out next, and to keep me doing videos like this. Thanks, guys. See you later.